All right, folks, Malkah Fleisher here, broadcasting from Israel to the world, and you're a part of it wherever you are. We keep fighting for a strong Israel, and Israel is strong. Yes, the war is intense. Nobody can say that the enemy is just laying down and giving up. That's not true. But Israel is fighting intensely. I have friends in South Lebanon fighting hard against the bad guys. Here's some videos of Israel capturing rocket launchers on top of Jeeps, Hezbollah Jeeps. Check this out. Rocket launchers on top of Jeeps. It's being towed. That is a Hezbollah rocket launcher being towed by the IDF. This next one is also a Hezbollah one, but they already managed to put a flag, an Israeli flag on it. All right. So, that's right, Am Yisrael Chai. You just saw a little bit of Israel getting rid of the enemy that threatens it, and those rockets were meant to hurt us, and they will no longer be able to do that. Very good. Let's take a look at what the plan was. We're going to look right now. Rear Admiral Daniel Hagari he's on the scene, and he's showing us what it looks like underneath a home of a South Lebanese person. What's hiding underneath there? Check this out, okay?
In the bunker that we found underneath a Lebanese house in a Shia village, only a couple of kilometers from our border. This bunker was ready for Radwan forces, for a battalion of Radwan forces to enter into this bunker and do a raid into Israel and do a larger scale of massacre than the 7th of October. They were planned with the motorcycles here to go to Kiryat Shmona.
Check out those motorcycles, right? So what he's explaining right now is he's saying, look, these motorcycles were ready to barge through the border between South Lebanon and Israel and do the same thing that they did on October 7th down in Gaza. They were going to make a raid and kill a lot of people in that raid. So he's saying, we managed to stop that, thwart that, but here was their plan. So it's a massive attack that was planned there, and it could be that they were planning to do it on October 7th again, in order to show Israel, you see, or on Yom Kippur to show Israel, you see, we're still alive and well. But Israel managed to stop that attack.
To go to Kiryat Shmona, to villages and positions inside Israel and conduct a massacre. They were only here a couple of days ago. In those beds with those weapons here, we found the fresh coffee and food here in this compound, underneath a Lebanese village, underneath a Shia house. This wasn't supposed to be here. 1701 should have prevented it. We need to impose a 1701, a fully imposed 1701, this area, so Hezbollah can never be next to our border with such infrastructures that can do a Conquer Galilee plan like he planned.
What does he mean by 1701? What is he talking about? He's talking about UN Decision 1701, Security Council Decision 1701, which claims to have decided that they're going to push, that the international community is going to ensure that Hezbollah is not going to be on Israel's border, but rather is going to be pushed back to the north of the Litani River. The Litani River is really a gorge. It's a giant gorge. It's a geographical boundary between Israel and Lebanon. And so the decision was that Hezbollah's got to go away. Of course, that decision never materialized in actual defense for Israel. Hezbollah was right on our borders, and he's saying we got to get back to 1701. But I think he's going to say, and it's 100% true, which is, look, we're in a time of war right now. We can't be talking about international decisions saving us. We got to talk about destroying our enemies. This is the opportunity to get rid of Hezbollah altogether. And he's going to say a line in a second, which I like very much. He says, the world's a better place without Hezbollah and without Nasrallah. I like that very much. Without Hezbollah and without Nasrallah.
Nasrallah, this ruthless terrorist that we eliminated, that is responsible for the deaths of many people, not just Israelis, Germans, Americans, French, and others. The world is a better place without Hezbollah. The world is a better place without Nasrallah. Nasrallah thought he understood Israel. He was wrong, and he was eliminated. And all our enemies should know, whether they are close or far away in Iran, they should know that we are determined. We are determined to supply security and safety to our citizens. We have only two missions: to bring our citizens back home next to the border in safety and security, and to bring back home 101 hostages that are being held in ruthless conditions in Gaza.
Well, I think our mission is a little bit broader than that. It's not just to return the citizens to South Lebanon, to the north of Israel, which abuts South Lebanon, and it's more than just to return the hostages. I think our mission is to vanquish the jihad enemy on our borders, the Iranian proxies, and to make sure that Israel is safer and that our children are safer in the future. And eliminate, and let's take it a little broader, which is to eliminate jihadism in our region, which threatens many countries. And by getting rid of jihadism, we can ensure a stronger economy, better education, better integration of Israel in terms of the regional economy, much more tourism, and an alignment of pro-prosperity anti-jihad forces in this region, pro-Abrahamic, because we're really all Abrahamic, those of us that want to see a beautiful Abrahamic vision of his children living together in this region. Okay, so thank you very much, Rear Admiral Daniel Hagari, for that. Israel is doing an amazing job at pushing back, and we're so much stronger today than we were a year ago, but it's a war, and wars have ups and downs. We had a down just the other day, where an unmanned air vehicle, entered into a Golani base. Golani is one of the infantry units, and exploded in a lunchroom. So pretty darn traumatic. Lots of people injured, 4 killed. And here's a Prime Minister Netanyahu talking about that that strike against our soldiers and how we understand it and conceptualize it. Let's listen to his words, and I'll be translating. He says, I'm at Golani's, one of the Golani bases, the one that was struck recently by the UAV, which was struck by the terror organization, the murderous terrorist organization yesterday, Hezbollah. Do you hear the firing, the shooting in the background? These are the soldiers of Golani who are continuing to train right now, because they're not going to be stopping to train. We're going to keep fighting in order to continue to fight the battles, the next battles. They're still training. We're not stopping. So first and foremost, I want to send my consolation to the 4 Golani soldiers who fell here yesterday. Omri Tamari, First Sergeant Yosef Haib,
Samal Yoav Agmon,
First Sergeant Yoav Agmon,
Samal Amitai Alon,
and First Sergeant Amitai Alon. May their memory be blessed. May their blood be avenged by God. And that by the way, is when he says that, when he uses that phrase, that's also a way to talk to the people, because that's a language of faith and God and strength. Hashem yinkom damo, may God avenge his blood. Now I'm going from here to the hospital to visit those who were injured here yesterday. Together with the whole nation, I pray for their speedy recovery. They and their friends who are continuing to fight here, and their friends who fell, who died. This generation is the generation of victory. We are in a tough battle, in a long battle. And that's what I'm always saying. Like he's saying, like there's a war here. It's not just, blips and ups and downs. It's a long war that we're in. It's not going to be instant happiness or instant regret. It's going to be a long war that we're in. We have to mentally prepare ourselves for such a war. This is a war against the Iranian axis of evil that has decided in their heart that they're totally convinced that their job is to destroy us. So they mean business. They shall not be successful in this. We're going to continue to fight. We are paying heavy prices. But we have tremendous successes. That's what I was showing you before. Like, yes, the fight is serious, and we take losses, but we have tremendous successes in this war so far. We'll continue to reach these goals, to succeed in these ways. And I want to clarify, we're going to continue to strike Hezbollah with no mercy. In all parts of Lebanon, including in Beirut, which is where the leadership sits. All according to operational calculations. We've proved this in the recent past. We're going to continue to prove it in the next coming days. It's the spirit, he says. It's the spirit that I see. There's a classic word called esprit de corps, right? It's like a French word, I think, and it's all about the spirit of the fighting forces. It's very important. It's a very important quality that a nation has to have. It has to have esprit de corps. It has to have a fighting spirit. And Israel, he says, look at his face. He's like, Israel's got that fighting spirit now. Strong spirit of soldiers, of medics, of female medics. Fighters who understand that they are fighting for the eternity of Israel, which is of course a biblical phrase from the book of Samuel, and so he's invoking Netzach Yisrael, the eternity of Israel. And he says, with the help of God, Bezrat Hashem, he says, together we shall fight, and together we shall be victorious. The rest of this video is of him touring this base, which was south of Haifa, and you could see that he's touring to understand what transpired. And why is he on this tour? Like, why did he go to this specific spot? Because Golani is a very beloved brand. It's a very beloved infantry unit, but it's like a brand in Israel. Golani is there's songs about Golani, more than one. And here he is with fighters. And it was that the strike against the soldiers could have dampened the spirit, the esprit de corps. And so therefore, here he is, Netanyahu, with the soldiers, with the families of the soldiers who were injured, and giving them strength. You could see that he's giving them strength. You could look at those faces. Yes, indeed. And there's pain there as well. He's listening to the stories. That's a commander-in-chief at this precarious moment. So good for him. And we got to keep fighting. And that's the spirit. We have to have a fighting spirit right now. As I've said in previous programs, we can't talk about having a calm year and having a quiet year. We got to talk about victory over our enemies. And we have to use this moment of crisis, really. We have to use it to wipe out our enemies. Speaking of fighting enemies, right? There's many theaters of operation, like American campus, North American campus. That's a theater of operation of this war as well. But there's another one, you'd be surprised. It's in our very own Knesset. And let's take a look at this video. But before I show it to you, I just want to give you some background, which is Israel is, on the one hand, a nationalist country, a strong country, but it's got a liberal progressive side to it as well. And we have laws that are not necessarily supporting the fight as they should. For example, right now there are Knesset members who are trying very hard to pass laws that would enable a type of punishment where family members of terrorists where the terrorists grew up with them, and they knew, and the family members knew that their family, that their loved ones were terrorists indeed, and were practicing terrorist ideology and talking about killing Israel at dinner time, et cetera, et cetera. Well, there's a law that is attempting to be passed, which is to be able to take away Israeli citizenship from people who are family members of terrorists, and to evict them from the land of Israel. Well, the nationalist parties in Israel are trying to pass that, the more nationalist so-called right-wing parties. And of course, we have Israeli Arab parties. One of them is headed up by Ahmed Tibi, Dr. Ahmed Tibi, who is a longtime enemy of Israel. His office has a big picture of Yasser Arafat. He's constantly calling for the shrinking of Israel minimally, and he is against any nationalist tendencies in the land. And we have that within our Knesset. I'm sure that wherever you're watching this from, you are familiar with this problem within our campuses and within our elected bodies, our parliaments. And so take a look at this fight that developed between Minister of Police of Internal Security Itamar Ben-Gvir and Ahmed Tibi. This was at committee where they're talking about this law, okay? So they're trying to pass this law, and then a scuffle breaks out. So on the right side with the white head covering the kippah is Itamar Ben-Gvir, and off camera, right, two people beside him, skip one person, is Ahmed Tibi, and he says, and they're calling each other. He says, "Stop speaking! You're a terrorist. You're a terrorist supporter." And the other one says, "You're a terrorist supporter. You're an Israeli right-wing guy, and therefore you're a terrorist." And this is happening in our Knesset. And Itamar Ben-Gvir is saying, "Who do you represent? You represent the actual terrorists." And he says back, "No, you're the terrorist." Right? And this is the fight we're having in our own parliament. All right, so they keep on yelling, "You're the representative of terrorism," and they're throwing out all kinds of names that you're associated with. And this is a battle that we're having. So they're trying to pass a law to say, "Hey, we got to get rid of terrorist supporters." I'll give you an example. The Iranian rockets were raining down upon us, and there was all these Arabs in Eastern Jerusalem and in the PA territories who were cheering wildly as rockets were falling on Israel. And they live with us. They're amongst us. So, one of the claims is we got to start figuring out a way to get rid of pro-Hamas, pro-terror folks. We got to push them out somehow, and certainly not give them every right in our country. They wanted to see our country destroyed. So that's the tension. That's what's happening at this meeting, this committee hearing, this committee gathering. And yet at the same time, within the very committee is somebody who's saying, "No, you Jews, by even being in this land, you're terrorizers, and this land is an occupation. You guys are thieves of our land," says Ahmed Tibi, who is representing the self-styled Palestinians, right? So he's saying, like, "No, this is our land. You're the foreigner. You're the terrorist." And Itamar Ben-Gvir is like, "No, you're the terrorist because you want to destroy Israel." So like this kind of, the writ large argument happens at the very heart of our governing body. Okay, so the fight, if it's not clear to you, if I was being too objective, I'll make it clear. I think that Ahmed Tibi is indeed a supporter of Hamas and Hezbollah, and wants, even though he is a Knesset member, he's a parliamentarian in Israel, he wants to see Israel shrunken minimally, but really he wants to see it destroyed, and he wants to see it erased and replaced with a Palestine. And he is the representative of that, and he causes nationalistic by making this kind of show inside of committee. He gets all of his fans to like him and to donate to him and to support him. And at the same time, Itamar Ben-Gvir also gets the chance to show, "No, I think you're the terrorist because you're the supporter of the enemies of Israel." So that's a tension that we have within our very country. I'm debating whether to show you one more video. I think I will. Okay, this is a video of Orit Mark Ettinger. She's going to tell her story, and I'm going to translate for her. And just like we saw the innards of the Israeli parliament a minute ago, I want to see the innards of an amazing Jewish person, an amazing Israeli in the land of Israel. I want you to hear her voice. She says, "I feel that this year we learned that you're allowed to cry, that it's okay to cry. You can walk the streets and cry, and it's legitimate. I've lost a lot of people in my life. My father was murdered in 2016. Her brother was serving in the Mossad and was killed in operational duty in 2019. So she lost a father and a brother. That's a lot. I thought I was immune from any more pain, she says. But when the war on the 7th of October began, everybody suited up and went to fight. My younger brother, Pedaya, so my younger brother went early morning, and my husband went at 10 a.m. already to reserve duty. And my cousins, Menachem and Elchanan Kamalzon, they left Otniel, which is in South Hebron Hills. They drove down to Gaza in order to save lives, in order to fight and save lives. They were able to save more than 100 people with their quick action and just running into the fire. Actually, it's 101 because there was a woman who was pregnant and who was able to give birth later. But Elchanan, her beloved cousin, was killed. Excuse me, not cousin, uncle. No, cousin, Ben-Dod. He was the cousin. He was the son of her uncle. Was killed. Her beloved cousin was killed on the 8th of October in one of the houses in Be'eri. He was like my second father. He was like a parent to me. He organized my wedding for me. He made my wedding. When I put out a book, I wrote a message in the book, a dedication. I said to my second parents. When I lost him, I felt like I lost myself. I just did not believe that I could get back up and stand again. I just didn't believe it could be done. So then I looked back into history, the history of our family, and only 100 years ago, less than 100 years ago, there was the horrible Holocaust. She said it wasn't just, one member of a family that would survive. One member of a whole clan, of a whole giant, family, would survive because the rest were gassed and murdered and shot and destroyed. People didn't have a piece of land to go back home to. But there was one survivor of the Holocaust who decided to get up even though his family was murdered. And he chose to look onto the horizon, to the future. And he came to the land of Israel even though his family was destroyed. Got married, built a family, had children. And he had a son, Benny. Rabbi Benny Kalmanzon, that's who that son became, an important, famous rabbi, her uncle. And Benny continued, and he decided to stand up and make a life. And he made a family. And he got married, and he had children, and he had a son. Elchanan Kalmanzon, my cousin. That on that Black Sabbath saved more than 100 people. If that Holocaust survivor did not decide to get up, if he wouldn't have made that decision to overcome the depth of the darkness and to climb out of that, these 100 people who were saved by my cousin would have not been here today. And if all the Holocaust survivors wouldn't have decided to get up and live,
מי יודע, אולי אנחנו בעצמנו לא יכלנו
We ourselves, who knows? We ourselves couldn't be here today.
לשבת כאן היום. לא לנו צבא, מדינה,
We wouldn't have an army. We wouldn't have a state. We wouldn't have
צוותים רפואיים.
we wouldn't have all the medical staff.
לא לנו בכלל דרך להגן על עצמנו.
We would have no way to defend ourselves.
והרע מכל קרה. אבל
And this horrible thing, this worst of all things happened.
אם הם אז, אחרי השואה, הצליחו לקום,
But if they, after the Holocaust, were able to get up,
מי אנחנו שלא נצליח?
who are we not to succeed to get up? Says Orit Mark Ettinger.
וממש שבועיים אחרי שאלחנן נהרג,
2 weeks after Elchanan was killed,
פדיה אחי הקטן שהיה בפיגוע שבו אבא נרצח, נפצע שם, לא היה חייב להתגייס, אבל הוא להתגייס.
and my brother, who was together with my father when my father was murdered in a terrorist attack, he joined the army and became an officer.
היה קצין, ונכנס עם 4,000 החיילים הראשונים
And he went with the first 4,000 soldiers into
לתוך
Gaza,
עזה, על נמר, עם חיוך על
with a jeep, with a smile on his face.
הפנים. ומבחינתי זה הניצחון.
And that's the victory.
פיגוע, חוסר אונים.
A child who went through a terror act, he was totally helpless. Then later on, put on the IDF uniform and was able to go into Gaza.
על מדי צה"ל, עליו. ובאמת 3 ימים אחרי הכניסה לעזה, פדיה נפל.
Three days afterwards, indeed, her brother Pedaya also fell in battle. This boy that withstood a terror act and became later an officer, her brother also fell.
פדיה לימד אותנו
But Pedaya taught us
שמותר לבכות,
that it's okay to cry.
צריך לבכות,
You gotta cry,
אבל גם אפשר להמשיך, כי אם הוא אחרי
but you gotta continue. Because if he, after the trauma that he went
מה שהוא
through,
עבר, לראות את אבא שלי נרצח מול העיניים,
he saw our father murdered before his eyes,
את אמא שלי פצועה אנוש, עד היום אין לה חצי מהפנים, ואמא שלי יושבת כאן בקהל,
and our mother injured, and half her face was injured badly, and she's here in the audience today.
אם הוא הצליח והיא הצליחה,
If he overcame and she overcame,
לקום אחרי זה,
to get up after
אני
that.
מאמינה שכולנו יכולים לקום ולהמשיך גם אחרי השביעי
So I believe that all of us can get up and continue after the 7th of October.
לעשירי. אני מרגישה שאני מסתובבת במדינה הזאת,
I feel that I go around the country
כמו טווס גאה, אני
like a proud peacock.
מסתכלת על אנשים סביבי, אפילו כאן על הפאנל המדהים הזה,
I look at the people around me, even this amazing panel.
כל כך הרבה כאב,
So much pain,
וכל כך הרבה עיניים טובות,
but so many good eyes, like eyes with life in them.
ואנשים מיוחדים סביבי,
So many special people and heroes.
מסתובבת במחלקות פסיכיאטריות,
I go in the hospitals, in the psychological wards. I see people who are hurt in their souls and in their psyches.
בנפש, וכולם מנצחים כל יום,
And yet we are victorious every single day.
וכל בוקר, וכל אחד מכם, שאלו את האומץ להתמודד עם השביעי לעשירי,
All of you had the courage to deal with the 7th of October.
לעצור שנייה ולהגיד כן,
You can stop for a second and say, yes,
האסון הנוראי הזה קרה, אבל אנחנו עדיין ממשיכים,
this horrible thing did happen, but we continue.
אנחנו ממשיכים להביא ילדים לעולם,
We continue to bring children into this world.
אנחנו ממשיכים את הטוב הזה,
We are going to continue the goodness
שחייב לקרות כאן.
that is happening here, that has to happen
בספר
here.
שלי קראתי קרן
And I called my book Broken Ray of Light,
אור שבועה, כי כולנו קרני האור בעולם,
for we are all rays of light.
כל אחד מביא את האור שלו, וכולנו
We all bring our light into this world, and we're all a little bit broken.
שבורים, כי זה המציאות של חיינו.
That's the reality of our
אבל
life.
כשקרן אור נשברת,
When a ray of light breaks, however,
נוצרים אורות נוספים,
there's
קשת
new lights that come into this world. It refracts, and more light comes into this world.
של צבעים, צבעים שלא היו קודם.
Lights that weren't, colors that were not there beforehand.
רוצה לאחל לכולנו שמתוך הכאב הזה, נצליח מתוך
I want to bless everybody that through this pain, through this broken light, we'll have extra lights, new colors, new lights that come into this world.
אורות נוספים ולהחזיר את האור חזרה למדינה שלנו.
And to return the light back to our state
ולאומה שלנו.
and to our nation Israel,
בשבילם,
for
אבל גם
them,
בשבילנו.
and also for ourselves.
תודה, אורית.
Wow, thank you, Orit.
אור, את אבוקה, את לפיד.
You are a light indeed.
תודה.
Woo, that is powerful stuff. And that is the reality of Israel. So we've seen a lot of victory today. We've seen a lot of the fight, and that's so important. And let's end up with something really positive, which is another awesome lady, and that is Malkah Fleisher, who went today shopping in preparation of the festival holiday of Sukkot. Israel's got 3 festival holidays, right? The Jewish people have 3 festival holidays: Passover, Shavuot, which is called weeks or Pentecost, and Sukkot, which is sometimes called booths. And Malkah Fleisher went today to the store. Let's just watch just a minute of her energy out there shopping in Jerusalem.
Hi guys, this is Malkah in Jerusalem, and you are coming grocery shopping with me for Sukkot. Here we go. We've got etrog-shaped candles, a tallis, Torahs for the kids, etrogs.
What are these etrogs? These are citrons, right? The Bible says we're supposed to gather together 4 species that represent many different things, Kabbalistically, etc. But so they're selling them in the store.
Lulavs, Hadassim, Aravot,
These are the 4 species.
Decorations.
Decorations for the holiday.
candies,
That's a lot of candy.
wine, and we definitely have the Spirit blessing you from Jerusalem with a happy Sukkot. Chag Sameach.
All right, so that was Malkah Fleisher shopping in Yerushalayim, Jerusalem, the holy city. And as I always say, if I ever get down, all I have to do is drive into Jerusalem and see it alive and lit up and being built. And yes, there's a fight and there's pain and there's strength. And in fact, in many ways, October the 7th has made us stronger than ever before. We cry and we lament and we mourn and we remember the dead and the fallen, and we get strength from them to continue. Because as we say here in Israel, in their death, they command us victory. I want to wish you guys blessings wherever you are, and thank you for being with me. This channel is really pushing out a lot of light, and your help is so appreciated. One way to help is to go to buymeacoffee.com/Yishai, which is a way to support this show and what we do and our team and our efforts to bring the strength of Israel out there. So that's just buymeacoffee.com/Yishai. I love your messages. I love your donations. Your support makes all the difference. Thank you so much. I also work for the Jewish community of Hebron. That's where the tomb of the patriarchs and matriarchs is. So check out hebronfund.org, a great organization to make a beautiful and ancient city alive again and to honor the tombs of the patriarchs and matriarchs. If you love the Bible and if you love the Jewish people, this is the foundations of it. And finally, if you want to help us with the continuing efforts to beautify and renovate, resurrect, and rebuild the land of Israel and teach Torah throughout the world, check out fightforisrael.org, fightforisrael.org. God bless you, folks, wherever you are. Write me an email, yishai@yishaifleisher.com. Be strong out there because we need that strength, and God is proud of our strength, and he gives us strength. Shalom and blessings wherever you are. Blessings from the land of Israel.